You are welcome here, just the way you are. No more hiding tears, no more covering scars. You are welcome, holy welcome. You are welcome here, just the way you want to be. Bring your deepest hopes and all your wildest dreams. You are welcome, holy welcome, holy welcome. You are welcome here, just the way you are. No more hiding tears, no more covering scars. You are welcome, holy welcome. You are welcome here, just the way you want to be. Bring your deepest hopes and all your
There's something in the air, the dream of life in love, with minds that rest in prayer, sparking joy we're in awe. No matter where your path has been or time will somehow flies, like souls will come home again, true friendship ever thrives. Is this where the magic happens? Can you feel the farce revealed right now in you and me? The secret is wherever we are. There's something in a smile that can turn a day around. Moments so worthwhile when we find common ground. No matter what the day might bring, right here we can align, knowing that we will be seen as perfect, whole, divine. This is where the magic happens. Let's feel all the hearts, from close to me and me to you. The secret is wherever we are. So meet me where the magic happens, healing all the hearts, ignited now in you and me. The secret is wherever, the secret is whenever, the secret is together we are.
Hello, CSL St. George, Centers for Spiritual Living here in Southern Utah. I'm so happy you're here to join with us this day. We are an open and loving and inclusive community that supports thinking creatively and living a deeply spiritual life. Our vision is a world that works for everyone. Today's service team is Chris McCardle in the background, making everything flow so smoothly. I am Star Starrett. I am a religious science practitioner. Shay Barlow is our wonderful, beautiful music director, and she is awesome. Then we have an invocation by Mary Klein, who's another religious science practitioner, and a reading given by Gwen Hadley. And our guest speaker is Jeffon Seeley. Looking forward to hearing all that we need to hear today. It's being prepared as we speak. Okay, so let's get started here.
Good morning, Star.
Good morning, Shay.
So we are going to go ahead and open with the beautiful song by Ricky Byers. This is All Good, All Good, and it's just that beautiful reminder that all is good. I'm going to go through it twice, and then Mary will come in and share our invocation. And then when we come back, Chris will put the words on the screen, and we can all sing together. Here we go. All good, holy, holy. All good, holy, holy. All in my mind, in my heart, in my soul. Let me know all is good, holy, holy. All love, holy, holy. All love, holy, holy. All in my mind, in my heart, in my soul. Let me know all is love, holy, holy.
I invite you this moment to simply take this moment to go inside and to move within, and if it's right for you, to close your eyes as I speak a prayer, or what we call an invocation, for this morning gathering. We're invoking the conscious presence of God within our heart. I know there is only one God, one intelligence, and one mind. I know each person here is an inlet and an outlet of this pervading presence. It's one force that encompasses everything everywhere in existence, and one energy from which all these things emerge. As I breathe in, I fill every cell, every part of the system of my body with this amazing energy we call God or Source. As I accept this truth, I am filled with an expression of love and of peace for all who have joined us for this gathering, and to listen to the God-inspired message of Jeffon Seeley. Having recognized the awesome and magnificent powers of the one that is absolutely everywhere, I also acknowledge that the divine presence is within all of us who are participating today. As we move forward to understand what being truly authentic means spiritually. I affirm that we are all open to expanding our knowledge of living with purpose and developing personal boundaries so that we can live a life of joy without restriction or without regret. An attitude of gratitude opens our consciousness to receive these insights and learnings. I release this knowing to the wisdom and love and law of the universe, and so it is.
So it is. Thank you, Mary. We're going to sing All One. All one, holy, holy. All one, holy, holy. All in my mind, in my heart, in my soul. Let me know all is one, holy, holy. All God, holy, holy. All God, holy, holy. All in my mind, in my heart, in my soul. Let me know all is God, holy, holy. All good, holy, holy. All good, holy, holy. All in my mind, in my heart, in my soul. Let me know all is good, holy, holy. All in my mind, in my heart, in my soul. Let me know all is good, holy, holy. And now we're going to welcome Gwen Hadley to share our sacred reading today. Good morning, Gwen.
Good morning, Shay. Beautiful music as always. So I wanted to share why I chose this particular talk. So two reasons really. I think the first, because it fit our theme for today's session, but more importantly, it really resonated with the inclusion discussion that we've been having weekly, led by Marina and Bill. So the name of this is Build Strong Bridges by Being Your Authentic Self, and it was written by Mary Jean Coons. In this, she talks about the movie Hidden Figures. If you aren't familiar with it or haven't seen it, I highly recommend it. It's just a beautiful, beautiful film. So she starts out, I took my 13-year-old son to see Hidden Figures this morning. Most of you know it's about the brilliant African-American women behind the mathematical calculations and computer programming for the NASA program that occurred in the 1950s. After watching the movie, I asked my son, what was your favorite part of the movie? I thought he might say that the persistence of difficult times for women in the 50s and 60s, or the high level of math it took to safely put a man on the moon. After all, I am the mom of an 8th grader who studies a lot, is a very good student at math and science, and I'm sure he'll go far in life. Surely his answer would be one of persistence and resilience, as that is heavily promoted in his academic environment. But that's not what he said. The part I like best is when Catherine, and Catherine is the character, she's the lead engineer. The part I like best is when Catherine's boss asked her why she took 45 minutes off every day and asked where she went. She was really needed there and she needed to be productive. My son said he liked her answer as the best part of the entire movie. When Catherine responded by proclaiming to the entire room of white NASA engineers and her boss that she was going to the bathroom, and the only bathroom for colored women was a half a mile away, and she ran both ways each day, often in the rain, and brought her work with her to do while she was in the bathroom. She also proclaimed that the coffee pot, they had a coffee pot for the NASA engineers, and after she got herself a cup of coffee, they got her a pot of her own and labeled it with the sign colored. So she proclaimed that the coffee pot sign that said colored was not right, and firmly and loudly appeared confident in speaking the truth. It was a powerful scene. The scene was followed by the boss immediately taking off the colored sign, and he went down to the other building a half a mile away and pried the sign off of the restroom that said for colored women. He later proclaimed, at NASA, we're all the same color. My 13-year-old son is biracial. His mind and pattern of thinking often works as a bridge between people. Bridges can take us to beautiful places, so please build strong bridges with others. In addition to bridge builders, we also need strong visionaries who can point out and fix cracks long before they are seen. I am so proud of my son, a young man who can design and build people bridges so that cracks almost never happen. A strong foundation of being one's authentic self is something we all need to build, and something we need to work hard building in both ourselves and in our children. My son seems born with wisdom and courage, and he sees what's really important and speaks out. He intuitively knows that all of us need to start being authentic, speaking the truth, and being our best selves. He sees ways to build bridges where others may have never even thought to build. Whoever you are, start being your authentic self. Start building bridges with people who appear very different from you. Reach out today to that person in your world with whom you never talked to. You know who that is. You will find that bridges you build with the foundation of true authenticity rarely crack, and when they do, other bridge builders will be right there to help you mend the cracks. Thank you.
Beautiful, Gwen. Thank you so much. I love that movie, and that is a very striking scene. Beautiful. Thank you. So we have been living out loud this year, 2023, and this month, March, we're cultivating authenticity. Today's talk, as you've heard, is boundaries build bridges, which seems contradictory, right? Boundaries often sound like they're going to keep people out. But author Mark Groves offers this. He reminds us that walls keep everybody out. Boundaries teach them where the door is. I thought that was a very powerful distinction. And our friend Rev Savannah, she teaches a boundary class, and one of her, I think, really good reminders is that boundaries without consequences are merely suggestions, right? We have to follow through when we set a boundary and intend to keep a boundary. And this song is about that. It's about when things are going wrong with a loved one and we need to claim a boundary and reset and invite them into that new territory. This is Love Do-Over. I sense a shift in how we speak, in who we trust and what we seek. From heaven's eyes to worldly fear, seems we lost track of why we're here. So let's have a love do-over and connect to what is good. Let Let go of all that weighs us down, all we've misunderstood, and live the dream that leads to the love we're meant to find, to ignite the source that testifies that we are one and one divine. I promise I will hold you close, honor your heart so you always know I see your spark, safeguard your truth, and I'm deeply inspired by the whole of you. So let's have a love do-over and connect to what is good. Let go of all that weighs us down, all we've misunderstood, and live the dream that leads to the love we're meant to find, to ignite the source that testifies. Let's have a love do-over and connect to what is good. Let go of all that weighs us down, all we've misunderstood, and live the dream that leads to the love we're meant to find, to ignite the source that testifies that we are one, that we are one, that we are one divine. Okay, Star, back to you.
Thank you, Shay. Beautiful new song.
Thanks,
I
Star.
like it a lot. Thank you. All right, we'd like to welcome today the global theme. March is cultivating authenticity, and today's talk is boundaries and building bridges. I so like the quotes that Shay shared with us. That is very eye-opening. Our guest speaker today is Jeffon Seeley, and we are ready for him now. Yay!
Thank you, Star.
All right.
Thank you so much. What a great songs, great reading, great meditation. Hopefully I can follow all that up with a great and inspiring talk here. So I was thinking about this specific topic, and to Shay's point, it pulled my mind in two different directions. But before I share that, I was thinking about this word cultivating and then also the word authenticity. And one of my mentors, he always encourages me when I hear these words that naturally gravitate and align with my spirit and my being, to not just grasp on to the word itself, but to look a little bit deeper and begin asking, what do those words actually mean? In a very clear, a very specific, and a very definable way, so that I have a better understanding of what it is about these words that really resonate and reverberate within my own being. And so those two words, cultivating and authenticity. Starting off with cultivating, I pulled up my dictionary online and I typed in, well, what does it mean? Because I use that word a lot, to cultivate. And I know spring is upon us. Many of us, depending on where you are located, might be starting to till the soil of the garden, getting it prepared for the warmer months and days ahead. And we are all doing part or taking part in cultivating and creating a space to foster, to care for that given land, for that soil, to place seeds within it and watch it begin to unfold. Within all of us, we have this sacred garden that we are tending to day in and day out, whether we are aware of it or not, that we are sowing seeds deep within our being that then blossom and unfold into our reality and or experience. So cultivating is to foster, is to take care for, to help bring about growth of, based upon what the dictionary said. Then that second word, authenticity. Well, what does authentic actually mean? When you think about it, what does it mean to you? In looking at the dictionary, trying to get to the source of what it means and why I'm so aligned with that word, something really stood out. Authenticity meant of undisputed origin, being of undisputed origin. Now, there's a bunch of other things that tie into that, being true to one's personality, being true to oneself. But this thing about being a part of this undisputed origin, I think really aligns with the teachings that we talk about often in our spiritual communities and in these circles. What is the undisputed origin that I am referring to, or that we refer to? Simply put, it is the one. It is the power. It is the infinite essence and energy that is enabling all things to be. So by virtue of simply being, we can only be authentic, because there is no other origin from which we could come from, or from which we've came. It's very fascinating, right? So are we always living in an authentic way? I guess we'd have to dive a little bit deeper, and I'm sure some of you are like me who would say it's definitely not all the time. But if we go to the very foundational element, it seems simply by virtue of being, we can only be authentic because we are never separated from source. Chris, I don't know if you can see my slides there. Could you share that if possible? So with that being said, cultivating authenticity, leaning into today's topic, which is the boundaries build bridges. Now, I had a very challenging time looking at this. So I want to look at it from three different perspectives: from a spiritual lens, from a physical lens, and from an individual lens. Because to Shay's point, I was thinking, how can you actually build bridges if there are boundaries? Specifically, if we go back to that thing that I just mentioned, the one essence and energy that exists throughout this entire universe, it seems that it is not contained within a small boundary. Instead, it is boundless, which means it is infinite, which means there is no wall that can box in that which is. And I would dare to say that that's the truth for all of us. Well, perhaps we are this ever-present essence and energy that are contained within this physical vessel, in this experience of life, but still the energy which we are is infinite, is filled with endless potential, is not contained solely within our body. And the way that I know that that is true for me is because I could sit in this very small, quiet space in my house, close my eyes, go into a meditative type state or practice, and it seems as if I can transcend the linear time that we often think that we exist upon or live with. And what I mean by that is I can take myself back to the past in my individual life, and I would dare say that we can all take ourselves back in the past throughout history if we give ourselves the time and space to do so. If our mind is empowered by the one mind, then there is no separation from what happened 1,000 or 10,000 years ago to what is happening now, if we are able to recognize that within ourselves. And I mean just simply tapping into that which is. And I also believe that we can project or begin to examine things in the future. Not saying that we know exactly what will happen, but we can enter into a space where we are not confined by the limits of this moment here and now, because this moment in and of itself is also infinite. So when I was thinking of boundaries, building bridges, at this base level, it would seem as if the energy which we are is truly boundless. So why are the boundaries needed? Now, that takes me from the spiritual realm, and then I'm moving into the physical realm that we operate in this day, in this age, this planet Earth, dwelling with many different people upon this planet. And I started thinking about boundaries from that perspective. Now, as I share this, please do not discount, dismiss, or ignore what I'm going to share with you. I'm not doing it to strike a chord. I'm just doing it to have this conversation so that we as humans can begin to have an introspective type of practice as to how boundaries have been and are being used on this planet. with that, this next slide. When we think about this physical realm and we think about the boundaries that we as humans have created, not just in this day and age, but going back throughout history, think about what those boundaries or those walls were preventing. They were preventing certain individuals, things to come into one area, into another space, into another area. And these boundaries then are self-created or created because of what is happening up here. We place them on this physical line that we say, this is where this stops and this begins. And suddenly we start creating this illusion of separation. And there is an incredible philosopher by the name of Jiddu Krishnamurti, and I believe I've mentioned him to some of you in the past. And he brought up something that was really profound and that has stuck with me over the course of the last 10 plus years when I first stumbled upon his teachings. And what he said is, where there is division, fragmentation, love cannot be, because goodness is a state of non-division. The world itself is indivisible. Now, before you simply look at this and say, well, it's impossible, love is everywhere, so how could love not be even where the appearance of division takes place? But I think that what he is really getting at is beginning to encourage us to look within ourselves and ask, if we have all of these things that separate one group of people from another group of people, doesn't that separation create a void where conflict, turmoil, war, chaos can exist? If we are truly in unity with the one that enables us to exist, unity of the one that exists within other human beings and other individuals, if we are truly in unity, can there be conflict? And what I'm leaning to in this conversation is to not say, well, look, that's a great idea, but that's not something that's going to exist in this day and age, unfortunately. But what I would like us to begin to consider, or at least ask the question, is it possible for our consciousness to expand in such a way that suddenly the borders or boundaries that we have created upon this sacred earth that truly is one can be dissolved? And perhaps in order for those boundaries to begin to be dissolved, that are physical and placed in a very firm manner, it requires us as individuals to begin this introspective type of process to start dissolving the boundaries that exist within our own minds. And what I am asking us, or hopefully leading us towards, as Gwen said in her reading, to recognize the boundaries that we've created internally when we are interacting with somebody who may be completely different than ourselves. And beginning this process, this level of self-awareness, where we can start asking ourselves, well, why do I talk this way with this group of people and don't speak up when I'm around this group of people? Why do I feel very comfortable being in this setting, and I will do everything in my power to avoid being in this setting? And what is that which is occurring within ourselves that creates these boundaries that may then perpetuate the very pattern of exclusion that many of us would say we are against? After all, if the goal of Centers for Spiritual Living or the New Thought communities is to create a world that works for everybody, it requires us to truly recognize the value, the worth, the God presence within everybody. Because if we deem that one group of people has more of that than another group of people, then we are not creating a world that works for everybody. We are creating a world that works for people who we deem appropriate for the world to work towards. And that's a very eye-opening thought. And there's nobody that can do this work for any of us. It requires us to venture into the caverns of our mind and our heart and our spirit and bring this light of conscious awareness into those dark caverns of our own being and begin to illuminate those things that may have been suppressed, that keep creating these patterns of exclusion or these boundaries that may deem some people as inferior and others as superior. And that's what I mean by this physical element. So if we begin with the spiritual, the boundlessness of the one, is it possible for us to expand our consciousness in such a way that we can bring that into the physical? And if we say no, then why is the answer no? And if the answer is yes, then what is preventing us from doing it in this day and age, in this moment of now? And what work has to happen in here for us to make it visible in the external world? Because we all know that the external world is a true reflection of what is taking place internally, both individually and collectively. And what we are seeing in the world is a collective representation of the current state of consciousness of human beings who are dwelling upon this planet in this day and age of now. So, leading with this, or bringing this with us from the spiritual, the boundless presence of the ever-present energy of the one, into the physical, recognizing the boundaries that we create, and now moving towards the next element, which is the individual realm. We start recognizing how boundaries may or may not be beneficial to us. And I think I went one step too far, which I did. Okay, there we go. Now, I think that we all have had experiences. I know I've had an experience where people cross the boundaries in my life. In fact, I remember one of the first jobs that I ended up working after college. I thought this guy had the best interest in mind for me, the boss that I was working for. And in hindsight, you know that feeling like once you're out of that environment and that situation, you look back and you recognize, wow, I was really taken advantage of. I mean, I was put in circumstances and situations where it felt as if this person was just a taker, taking as much as they could from the energy that I was willing to give out, the work that I was able to do. What I had to come face to face with was asking myself, was this due to me not placing a boundary that would prevent this individual from doing this to me, taking advantage of the work that I'm doing, of my time, of my energy? Or was this a creation of the self-imposed limitation that I had of myself? And thus, I was the one who bound myself to this very small self-image that then allowed me or made me feel as if I had to keep doing this. And from this standpoint, maybe the boundaries that exist is not saying, and follow me here, I'm not saying this is for everybody at all, but this is where my mind went when I read Boundaries Build Bridges. Maybe boundaries are not necessarily where we draw the line and say, look, you can't do this to me anymore. Yes, that is important. Yes, we have to be aware of when people cross that line. But I would dare say that the boundary that needs to be either created or dissolved are the boundaries that we place on ourselves in terms of our self-image, in terms of our self-worth, in terms of our self-esteem, in terms of our self-talk, in terms of the thoughts that we think day in and day out. Because if we were truly aware, conscious, and living from the essence of the one that enables us to exist, would we need any boundaries? When we look at the enlightened mystics who have graced this planet, just use the big ones, Jesus or Buddha, do you think that they lived with this boundaries? Or were they boundless because of the energy that enabled them to be? So I just ask you, I just encourage you to sit with it. And what is the need for boundaries? To keep yourself safe? Are we the ones who are enabling people to take advantage of ourselves because of the way we think about ourselves? Can we shift something up here? And if we shift something up here, is it really a requirement that we let somebody know that this is the line that you cannot cross? Or will we just simply start showing up differently? No explanation needed, because there's been a transformation in our own consciousness that encouraged us to show up just a little bit differently. When we look at the root of the word of boundary, well, it comes from about the year 1300 or so. And it was really to help divide land, right? Where people would place rocks and say, well, this is mine, this is not. But if we think of the adjective of boundary or of bound, which is to bind, which if we look at the history of humans, we recognize that a lot of people were bound to other humans, or they were bounding people to make them do something against their will. Then perhaps looking at it from that perspective, at least for me, causes me to really begin to think that the boundaries that I've created in here are restricting the infinite potential that I've come into this earth possessing. And I'm placing these false illusions or limitations based upon how I've seen myself, based upon the memories that I continue to revisit in my mind day in and day out, based upon thinking with a scarcity mindset, based upon thinking that everybody is out to get me, based upon thinking that I'm literally a victim to this reality. Instead of recognizing that I can show up in an empowered way, and there will be individuals who might tempt that or push that line, but I can think differently about myself, show up differently in the world. And to the degree that I do that, so many of the problems and difficulties that I bumped up against, such as that individual who took advantage of me when I was younger working, start to dissolve, because I'm a totally different person. I show up totally different. My consciousness is not at the same level. It's expanded. And to this point, I'm not necessarily just building bridges to other people. Instead, what I am doing is building a bridge to my highest self. And I think that that is the solution, or maybe not the solution, but one of the solutions that might really shift the entire landscape of this planet that we call Earth. If we start recognizing those limiting boundaries that we've placed upon ourselves in here and in here, and as we do, start dissolving those and casting out a bridge that can take us to a higher level of ascension, to a higher level of being, to a greater way of thinking and showing up on this planet day in and day out. So a very simple exercise then that we could begin to do is based upon what Ernest Holmes said. And he said that we can feel. Feeling is something that is energetic, I would say. And we can also see God, source, the divine, whatever word you want to input there for that which is all, in everything and everyone. And I was going to use the quote from Ernest Holmes where he said, all limitations are self-imposed, which I think is also very, very fitting. And when we begin asking ourselves, well, why am I imposing or imprisoning or binding myself to this very small version of who I believe that I am, instead of giving myself permission to recognize the spiritual element of myself is boundless, is infinite, endless potential, pure possibility. And in all these possibilities, I am focusing on this very limited one. I am bound to this very small, limited version of myself instead of allowing myself to experience or move into that which I truly am, which is divine, which is infinite potential. So as you go throughout this day, as you go throughout the rest of this week, month, year, the rest of our lives on this planet, I would encourage you to continue that walk into the unknown, to recognize the bridge that exists for all of us to move towards our highest level of being. Not pointing at the faults of others, not complaining about what somebody is or is not doing, but instead recognizing that the greatest work that we can do is the work that nobody sees, and it's the work that is taking place within ourselves. And to the degree that we each individually begin to do that work that is true to us, the world around us begins to reflect that inner transformation because of what is happening in here. Thank you for your time and your energy and your attention. I hope that one of the many things that I mentioned made sense. And I hope even more that you will grasp one of those things and sit with it a little bit more so it becomes real for you. What I am saying is not the absolute, is not the only truth. It's just the way that I am seeing things at this moment. And it's what makes sense for me. And we all have a different way of looking and different perspectives and different levels of understanding and different experiences that we're using as a lens, so to say, to view what is happening in front of us. But I would just encourage us to sit down, look within and say, well, what is the universal truth of this? And what is for me to do? And as we do that, we will be surprised about the transformations that we can make. And so it is. So wherever you happen to be, I would invite you to close your eyes if you would like, and let's just go into a very short but profound affirmative prayer. Taking a breath in and sending it out. Very simple here. Know that there is one essence, one energy, one presence that flows through it all. It is that which enables us to be. It is. It is flowing throughout all other human beings. It is that which enables this earth to spin and the sun to shine. It is. And everything that we do is brought about by this energy that enables us to be in this moment of now. We are. Recognizing this, let us move forward throughout this day, this week, most importantly, this moment, being the best that we can be. And we release this and say, and so it is. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you so much, Jeffon. I just love your messages.
Thank
They
you,
come
Sarah.
across so purely.
Thank
Really
you.
appreciate it. Okay, right now, and Jeffon is hopefully going to be with us on Zoom. I forgot to ask him, but I'm sure he is. He usually is, and it's a wonderful time to get and communicate with him. But in the meantime, we have a community care circle who, if you need to reach out to someone, someone will be able to take your call and talk to you about it. And we have a prayer request center, prayer at CSLSGeorge.org. It is where practitioners will help you out if you need an affirmative prayer. And they're always open to let you know that all things come to good. Again, our Zoom conversation is at noon. Please join us. And our book club, Sue Fulmer, has 2 more weeks left of this, and she's inviting anybody to come. Whether you have a book or not, please join her at suefulmer@gmail.com. Our annual meeting is coming up April 8th, and we would love to have people show up. It's one of our most important meetings during the year, and we're looking forward to seeing a lot of people. So thank you very much for joining us. Your generous support is appreciated. Give with Zelle, or you can give online with PayPal, or use the QR code here. You can give by mail by sending checks to CSL St. George, Box 3132 in St. George. And just one more thing about giving. What I've come to know, especially during Jeffon's talk, is that when you get in touch with that higher part of you, the higher self, the higher being, the one that you're walking towards, it has everything, and it has shown me that I have everything. And if I have everything, I can give so much more easily. So consider that. All right, our upcoming Sundays is with our senior minister, Reverend Joe Kovach. Okay, March 26th, no approval needed. I like that one. And April 2nd, Power of Vulnerability, Defining and Aligning. That's going to be good too. Okay, we're going to bring everybody back online right now. Here they come. One more. There we go. Actually, one more. There he is. Okay, something wonderful is happening through me right now.
It is this thing called life.
Life is in my mind. Life is in my body. Life is in all that I do.
I am it, I embrace it, and I share it.
Just the way that it is.
And just the way that it is becoming.
Thank you, life.
Woohoo!
Thanks,
Goodbye,
everybody.
everybody. Join us on Zoom. We'll see you there. Jeffon, are you going to meet us in Zoom?
I'll be there.
All right.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, everybody. Have a good
great
one.
Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.